Hey everyone, my name is Kelsey, and this is Introduction to the Odyssey. So far in this course, we've looked at stories and we've looked at poetry. Now we're going to look at poetry that tells a story. In this unit, we'll be reading Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey, which tells the story of the hero Odysseus' return home to Ithaca at the end of the Trojan War. In this video, we'll learn more about the poet Homer, the epic genre, and background on the Odyssey and its main characters. We'll also preview some of the skills and assignments that we'll be working on in this unit. Let's get started. An epic is a long narrative poem that describes the adventures and feats of a hero. The genre's origins reach all the way back to ancient civilizations, with one of the earliest surviving examples of literature, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which originated in ancient Mesopotamia and tells the story of a king who is part god, part man. Depending on the cultural origins of the epic, the exact meter of an epic differs, but epics have certain common characteristics that they usually share. Epics are typically written in a formal style with elevated and highly stylized language. They are told from the perspective of a third-person omniscient narrator who is objective and unbiased. Epic poetry typically includes the journey of a hero who is known for his courage and determination, and it takes place across a vast setting. Epics usually include obstacles that are supernatural or otherworldly, and often they include the interventions of gods and goddesses. Epics usually begin with an invocation of the muse. In Greek mythology, a muse was a goddess of the arts, so poets begin their epics by asking the muse for inspiration to tell the story and do it justice. Lastly, epics begin in media res, or in the middle of the action. The Iliad begins in the middle of the Trojan War, and the Odyssey begins in the middle of a conflict as well. The epic poem The Odyssey was written by Homer, one of the most famous poets in the epic genre. Despite his fame, we actually don't know very much about him at all. Both epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, are attributed to him, but little else is known about who he was. There are many who conjecture that he was blind, and several different theories exist about where and when he lived and wrote these great works. There are some who don't believe that Homer wrote both the poems alone, or even at all, noting the stylistic differences between the Iliad and the Odyssey. Most people believe that the poems originally were told orally, similar to many other types of narrative poetry, and passed on from person to person. Although we'll only be reading the Odyssey in this unit, Homer's first work, the Iliad, is important to our understanding of the story. The Iliad focuses on the ending of the Trojan War, and in the poem, Odysseus, our main character from the Odyssey, plays a central role in ending the war and leading the Greeks to victory. He does this with his famous Trojan horse trick, in which the Greek army hid inside a large wooden horse in order to ambush the Trojans once the horse was brought into their city. The major mortal characters in the Odyssey are Odysseus, our hero, his son Telemachus, who hasn't seen his father since he was a baby, and his wife Penelope. The gods and goddesses also play a central role in the poem, with Athena acting as Odysseus' mentor, and Poseidon, the god of the sea, acting as an antagonist. You see, Odysseus blinded his son, the Cyclops, on his journey home, and Poseidon is out for revenge. Many other mortal and supernatural characters do appear in the text, some in aid of Odysseus and others as obstacles to his journey home, but these central characters are present throughout the epic. There are a few major themes in the Odyssey that can be traced back to ancient Greek values. One of those is xenia, an ancient code of hospitality. Because Greeks were eager to please their gods and goddesses, they welcomed all strangers into their homes for fear that they might be a god in disguise. In the Odyssey, Odysseus relies on this code of hospitality in order to get home. The other value that is embedded in the text is nostos, or the idea of homecoming. Odysseus has been away from his home for 20 years at the start of this story, and the entire story centers around his desire to get home to his family and return to a peaceful life. As we read the Odyssey, we'll learn about elements and devices that are unique to the epic genre, such as epic similes, epithets, character archetypes, and the hero's journey. We'll discuss the major themes in the text and consider the moral questions that they pose, such as, when is it okay to seek revenge? Is our destiny chosen for us? And what truly makes someone a hero? We'll also work on writing skills, such as justifying claims and ideas in our writing, addressing counter-arguments, and integrating evidence from a text seamlessly into our own writing. And you know it wouldn't be an English class without a little punctuation practice. We'll learn how to correctly use semicolons and colons in order to add variety to our writing. Because the Odyssey is a 24-book-long epic poem, we'll be skipping around and reading its most important sections in order to understand the central themes of the text. Be sure to pay close attention to summaries and background information provided in your materials when you're reading the text in order to get the most out of the story. While the original poem was written in verse, we'll be reading a translation, so it will feel more like reading a story than a poem. Even though the Odyssey was written thousands of years ago, it raises important questions about identity, heroism, and morality that are still relevant to our world today. As we begin this unit, use this as an opportunity to explore your own personal values and beliefs, and to share those through the written reflection activities that are scattered throughout the unit. This is going to be an epic journey, pun totally intended. So let's get started.